Hey there. How's everyone doing this Saturday? Just here to do my hour chit chat, me and my good friend Nadine Searle. So I'm just going to wait for her and let some people maybe join us. So just holding in that for a moment. But yeah, it's Saturday. We're on a different day than we usually are. So, and we are right just preceding this new moon that is coming in, new moon in Sagittarius, and feeling all the energies of that whenever the moon, or whenever we're in a season of a sign, an astrological sign, we are, all the characteristics of that sign kind of are amplified at that time. So, and it depends on also where that hits in your natal chart, what house it hits for you. Yeah, so that also, like, which area of your life would be affected or impacted by that. Hello. Yeah, so we're in Sagittarius season. It is the new moon in Sagittarius, and the I think it's the final new moon of this year, but I might be wrong on that. And yeah, Sagittarius is the ultimate seeker, the explorer, the wanderer, seeking to find a deeper truth. And that's why we're having these conversations. That's why we're doing this. So here's Nadine. I'll let her in on my commentary while she joins. Hi, Nadine.
Hello.
How are you
How are you?
doing?
I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
doing well, thanks, on this bright Saturday that we were supposed to get snow and we haven't yet. So,
Ah,
yeah,
well, where I am, we're in the dark. It's evening time, so we're in the
yeah,
dark. It's evening, but that's okay. 'Cause we're miles away, but we can still
we
talk,
can
can't
still
we?
talk. And I was
Don't
just
know.
saying, yeah, I was just talking about starting off with the astrological weather, energy, all the things that we're in right now. And like we always do, we always have these around the new moon and
Yeah,
new moon in Sagittarius, like I had just mentioned. And I'll just repeat that too. It's the sign of, like, Sagittarius. The characteristics are like the ultimate seeker, the explorer, searching a deeper truth. And I think that is, like, it's so funny how our topics, we don't set out like with a plan of what we're going to talk about. It always comes through intuitively through our conversations.
mm,
So
yeah,
it's so
yeah.
funny though how it always is in alignment with the
It's
astrological energy. Don't you think? Like
it's amazing actually, and people might not even believe us that we don't plan it that much, but we really don't. It's just what we happen to be talking about ourselves, isn't
right.
it? And then we go, "Oh, this would be a good conversation." It
Yeah.
ties in with your wonderful writing, your books, your poetry, all your
Mm.
artistic work. It all ties in, and it just fits in really naturally, like you say. Then when you think about, oh, what's going on planetary wise, or what's going on in the world, then we go, oh,
It
it
makes
fits.
sense.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we're in alignment, which is
Yeah.
beautiful, isn't it? I love that.
And I was saying just before you joined that, like, because like that Sagittarius energy, like we take on the characteristics, or we're invited to take on those characteristics, those areas of our life that those characteristics of the sign that we're in, that season of, kind of amplifies in our life in whatever area it's hitting in our chart mostly, but it's happening on the collective, it's happening individually, but um, we're invited to lean into those energies, and it's all around searching for that deeper truth. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's why, like, we're having these conversations,
yeah.
is to bring out externally what we're thinking, what's brewing inside of us, but like what we talk about personally, like you said, our topics come from our conversations, and
Yeah,
it's like we
yeah,
want to broaden that conversation to everyone out there, because we know we're not the only ones going through this, and we know that there's a lot of things that we go through in life that we don't talk about, and
yeah,
that's why we're here to talk about these things
yeah,
and to bring the insights that we have from our own experiences, but just have that conversation out loud. So, and through that, the ultimate seeker, the ultimate explorer, seeking that deeper truth, that's all about change and transformation and evolution. And we're not meant to just stay where we are. We're here to evolve and transform. We're here to alchemize like the pain in our life into something beautiful. And we all have that ability.
Yeah.
And we all have that, I think, inner desire for, like, while we resist change, sometimes there's change that we choose. And I
Yeah.
think, our topic today was like, came of a conversation we had, like, don't go changing on me. And around,
Yeah.
like, when we
Yeah.
choose change for ourselves, um, to do something better for ourselves or to look for that something more, then sometimes, like, we're faced with, like, the people around us that might not support us in that, because it's
Yeah.
it's, and there's some insights that came up. What do you have to
Yeah.
say about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and it is, and it's like you say, when it, I think it's more obvious when it's change that we are choosing.
Mm-hmm.
When we purposely want to change ourselves in whatever shape or form, or our life circumstances, or our work, or something, relationship, or anything, if we purposely set out to change, I think it's very noticeable then that we can sometimes make other people feel uncomfortable, can't we?
Mm-hmm.
And that really does happen. But I've got to be honest with you, I've noticed it in other changes that we haven't chosen. When we change, and we have to adapt, everybody knows my story. I had my cancer diagnosis. That was a change I didn't choose. And I've sort of gone with it. I've had no choice and everything. But I am aware of how, obviously, I've had so much love and support, and that's wonderful. And I'm so grateful. But I do know that my changing has made some people
Mm.
uncomfortable because I've had to change. It's one of those things. I've gone with it, and it's changed me completely in so many ways. But I know some people, so don't, like you said, don't go changing, don't change. Come back to who you were and everything. I
Yeah.
can't, and I also don't want to. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
evolving, like you say, isn't something I chose, but I've noticed it in that way. But as I say, even more so when I've done changes, like you say, changing a job or something like that. And people want to hold you, don't they? They want to
Mm-hmm.
hold you back in a way, and that sounds a bit mean spirited, but sometimes I do get that feeling people aren't happy for you. People aren't necessarily, because we make them uncomfortable. And
Right.
I think I said it to you, didn't I? And I'll share it just because I know the other side of it too. I know when friends of mine, couples that I know and that maybe have been together quite a while, and I feel comfortable around a couple, when they split, I really don't want. I have sadness for myself,
Yeah.
which is very selfish, but I'm being totally honest with you. I go, oh, don't check. It's rocking my world a little bit because I go, they are there. They're a couple. That's what I'm comfortable with. That's what I'm used to. And when that changes, it unsettles me and upsets me when I have no right to feel that way, because in lots of ways it's none of my business. But I do feel that
Mm-hmm.
way. So that maybe is why some other people feel that way, because they've got to adjust too. And again, this is, if we change and the other people around us, then they're forced to change as well, aren't they? Because they've got to adapt to our
Yeah.
change. So
Let's let's unpack all of what you just said, because,
that
and
was
I
a
want
lot,
to, it
wasn't it?
was a
Yes.
lot, but it's
Please
so
do.
good.
Yeah.
And it's like, going back to what you said about the change, like, yeah, there's the change we choose for ourselves, and then even when we don't choose that change, there's change. And then that, like you said, when you had your cancer diagnosis and you went through your treatment, and there's this sort of like sentiment, I mean, there's so much in there to
I know.
say, that I want to say. So, but I got chills when you were saying it. That it's like people, and we've talked about this before too. But like, it's like people want you to go back to the way you were. You can't. You're not the same person.
No,
You've been
no,
through trauma. You've been through, and then you allowed yourself to feel that and heal and all of that. You can't. You're not going to be that same person. But
I'm not.
people are
No, no.
clinging to what they're comfortable with us being,
Yeah.
whoever that is, whether it's a family member, a friend, whatever. And
Mm,
and
mm,
it's because, like, when we see somebody change, like, number one, there's a discomfort in with your diagnosis that people want you to be better
Yes.
because they're uncomfortable with you being ill. And
Yes.
then they're like, okay, you're done with treatment now. You're all good, right? And then, so we can move on, because when somebody is in a situation like that, a diagnosis, a loss of a loved one, a heartbreak, breaking up
Yeah.
of a couple, like you just said,
Yeah.
we don't know how to, I'm getting chills. It's grief. It's grief. And we
It is
don't
grief.
know how
It
to
is grief. Yeah.
respond to that,
Yeah.
because we, many times or often, we haven't really met our own selves and our own grief throughout our life, number one. And number two, we don't know what to say because it's hard. What do you say to somebody when they've lost somebody? Or like you've been through your treatment, like sometimes we say the wrong things unintentionally and it's not helpful, but we always know it's coming from a good place most of the time. So
Totally.
it's not
Totally.
about that or judgment or whatever, but it's like this idea that we have to say the right thing. Sometimes we don't need you to say anything. We just need you to sit with
Yeah.
us in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and just be
It's
there.
yes. It's so interesting that you're saying this now, because I have had this conversation recently with quite a few different people. You know, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do. Glad you're feeling better. You know, things, that kind of thing. So they feel they can open up to me now, and I'm so grateful for that. But I
Right.
say all the time, you know, someone said, and I can't remember what it was, but someone said quite recently something that she was quite embarrassed. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry, I didn't want to hurt you or anything."
Mm-hmm.
And I just laughed, because I go, it doesn't matter to me personally. It doesn't matter what you say. There's no right or wrong. Who can do it right? You know,
Right.
say anything. And actually, there's so much humour in my personal situation. You know, I found humour along the way, thankfully. So I really almost welcome people to put their foot in it, say something a little
Yeah.
bit, you know, non-PC, because actually that lightens the mood a little bit, and you just go, yeah, it's okay. Don't be frightened to speak around people. Like you say, it happens with grief, doesn't it? You know, people don't know what to
Yeah.
say. Say something. Say something. Don't be frightened. And there are actually, and I've got to be honest, and this sounds a bit, maybe I'm having a little bit of a moan, but I'm going to say it. I see posts out on social media saying, don't say this to a cancer patient or whatever. Don't say this, don't say that. Things you shouldn't say to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, oh dear, that makes those people that are uncomfortable maybe feel even more uncomfortable. And I think it's lovely to have a bit of
Mm-hmm.
guidance. You know, maybe there's things you can say and not say. We said once before, didn't we, Trish, that I don't really like saying cancer journey.
Right.
We've chosen experience, haven't we? You know, I
Yeah.
don't mind if someone says to me, oh, well, this is your cancer journey. I'm not going to be cross with them or anything.
Right.
It's not a problem. We both expressed how we feel, don't we? And I'd rather
Mm-hmm.
say experience than journey. That's fine, you know.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it is just, I personally would rather someone says something to me than feels
Then,
uncomfortable around me, you know, like you say, with change, with anything.
right.
So, and even if it is, I don't like the fact that you're changing, you know, like I said about couples that I know when they change, I've learned now to actually say, oh, I'm really sad that you
Mm-hmm.
split up, and I've got sadness for myself. It's not justified, but I feel that I can say that to people.
Yeah.
And it just frees I'm free then. I've said it, and then you get over it. You know, it's not a big
Right.
issue. Um, but I do feel that I can actually say it now. I used to feel really uncomfortable and not know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
But now I've sort of looked at what it is within myself, and it is exactly what we're talking about. It's just I'm uncomfortable with change. Don't rock my world. You know,
It,
everyone's in their place. Don't move. You know.
yeah. But it's such a good point that, like, regardless of what like, we're so afraid to say the wrong thing, but we can always just say,
Mm,
I don't know what to say. Like, how can I support
yes.
you? That's it. Like,
Yes.
and it might
Yeah.
just be, like I said, sitting with us. Like, we're not expecting you to fix our problems or fix our whatever's
Exactly.
our hearts or whatever. That
Mm,
process happens by you just sitting with me and listening to me, or,
yes.
whatever it is we need in that moment that we can communicate. But I
Yes.
feel like then people get so caught up in, like, not saying the wrong, or they don't want to say the wrong thing, so they don't say anything, and then
Yes.
that just is like, that silence is like so hurtful, and
Yeah. It can
so
be tempting.
isolating, and whatever the
Yeah.
situation is. So it's like, we and then there's another part to this too. It's not just about not even, there's circumstances where there's change and we're doing something, like we make a move or we start a new career or whatever, and that's change, and we start, like, once we do one thing differently or take a step, it kind of opens up our world to new opportunities and new experiences. And so if there's people around us that have been with us through, and you know, we're in this space, and then suddenly we pivot and go into another direction, that can make people around us feel uncomfortable, because
Yeah.
there's this sense of, and I'm including myself in this, because we're all human. We all have like these emotions and feelings that come up, but we see them changing, and we immediately reflect, like self-reflect, and be like there. And it's almost like without even realizing it, because of our conditioning
Yeah.
around competitiveness and in a scarcity mindset,
Yes.
materialistic
Yes.
society,
Mm.
that there's not enough of success or happiness or joy or love to go around for all of us. And
Yeah.
that is a crock. Like, that is so far from the truth. There's so, like, if you flip that and lean into an abundance, like, rooted mindset, there's like infinite success, there's
Yeah.
infinite joy, there's infinite love for all of us. So, and so it's a process to kind of like, if you have that experience in your life, or you've experienced that, like, you can use that as a learning or a lesson to
Yes.
have the awareness going forward when you feel those feelings bubbling up in you, of seeing somebody who's kind of like moving in a different direction, like you've been really close and kind of on these parallel paths, and then suddenly they pivot off into something else. Like, we're all meant to evolve and transform. Like I said earlier, we're not here to stay in one spot. We're not meant to
Yes.
be stagnant. We are energy.
Mm.
Energy is constant,
Mm.
and that's why change is constant, because
Yeah.
it's, you know, it is, this is just our nature of being everything in the universe. So
Mm. Mm.
we're not meant to just stay in one spot. And if we do stay in one spot, this is where we see like the anxiety, the depression,
Yeah.
the, like, from not doing what we know our soul desires for us.
Yes. I think that's the thing, isn't it? We've had a conversation before. One of our past chit chats has been about being scared to change and
Mm-hmm.
holding back because we are scared of it, which we both expressed, we have felt that feeling. But we
Yeah.
know now, like you quite rightly say, we're not meant to be here and stay still.
Yeah.
Change is something that it happens to us. We seek it, we change because we grow, and we get different situations, we have a different mindset, don't we? It's not
Mm-hmm.
something to fear, although I admitted quite readily that I used to be scared of change. I didn't like it. But also, again, that, like you say, if other people in our world haven't quite got that, then they are always going to go, oh, I don't want to change, don't want to change, keep things the way they are. But actually, you're absolutely right. If we stay that way, if we all stay the same, we'd all be destroying our souls, wouldn't we?
Right.
It wouldn't happen at all. So change is, and I'm learning. I'm still having to remind myself sometimes that change is always a good thing. It's growth. It's like you say,
Yeah.
unlearning, relearning. It's that kind of thing. But I still sometimes have that initial fear.
Mm-hmm.
And again, change, it does bring grief with it, because when you change, even if it's a change that's good, you've made it happen, we are saying goodbye to something, aren't we? We're
We
letting
are.
go of something. Yeah, we are in, where I am in this part of the world, we're going through the season change. So trees are doing that classic, I always use it as an
Mm-hmm.
example. They're letting go of
Yep.
their leaves. They're letting it go. They're okay with it because that happens. It happens every year, and it's a sign, it's a symbol, it's something I step into big time, because that's what the trees are doing, and they know it's okay. They're not worried.
Yeah.
The leaves go, they change what they look like, they go inward, they do what they need to do for this time of year. And this is again our cycles, it's our thing, whether we do it yearly, whether we do it whenever, but we do need to do it, don't we? We need to shed, we need to change, we need to evolve.
Yeah.
We always use the example of the butterfly chrysalis, the butterfly, caterpillar. We change, so it is something I think we have learned, haven't we? Both of us personally have learned to become more comfortable with it.
Right.
But I don't know about you, Trish. You still sometimes have moments when you go, I'm scared of change. I'm really
Oh
frightened of what
yeah.
I'm
I mean,
doing.
all the time. And it's so, like, going back to that, like, if we, yeah, take away those wisdoms from nature, what nature, like you said, like that, we can just allow ourselves, we get in our own way. I get in my own way with the fear and and it's funny because we want to be, like, you see people say, oh, be fearless and whatever, blah, 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 about being fearless. It's not about being fearless. It's about, because the fear is going to be there. We're just kidding ourselves in that. It's being, having the fear and doing it anyways, and not letting that be our roadblock, not letting that be what stops us, because everyone has fear. And if they say they don't, they're just kidding you, because and kidding themselves, because if it's not, and then I have to remind myself, and it sounds cliche, but if it's not scary, then it's not like big, it's not, big enough, or it's not worth doing, or what, if there's like a neutrality about it, like, and it's not to say that there can't be neutrality, but if it's scary and, it's in my heart, like, it gets to the point where it's like the choice to not do it becomes greater than the fear. And just reminding myself that, like anything, the scariest part is right before you do it. Once you're doing it, the fear goes away. And to not let that be the sole driver of life. And we see it so much now with just everything that's going on in the world. Like, it's so fear infused, like all these perspectives, and it's like we need to, like, remind ourselves that, like, look beyond that, and there's a bigger picture of what's going on, of what's possible, of what we can do. It begins with us doing our own work and allowing our own soul to evolve, because again, I believe that's why we came here. We didn't just come here to participate in a system and pay our bills and go to work 9 to 5 and come home and be exhausted and do it again, every week. We came here, like, yes, there's a that plays a part in helping us to have the resources to do the things we want to do. But we get so caught up in that we lose the things that light us up. We lose the things that help us grow and evolve, because we're so busy trying to keep up with that cycle of, like, participating in this system. So, that's another reason why, when we make choices to change, and sometimes the people around us, like, it causes them to reflect on their own life and what they really want to do, and maybe not doing it, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean you can't start today, just because it doesn't mean because so-and-so's, like, made this big pivot and change in their life, that you can't too. Like I said, there's room for all of us to expand and grow to our greatest potential. That's it. Period.
I think it's so true, isn't it, that actually it is, we can be scared of change, and that sometimes is the pointer sometimes, isn't it, to go, that's the change, that's the direction it should be going. That's the scary bit. Let's step into, it's a classic step out of your comfort zone and that kind of thing. But I do, and for me personally as well, I find that if it is something, when you've got nerves when you're doing something, if you go for a job interview or something, you're really nervous. Like you say, in neutrality, that's not necessarily the right thing for me, because I don't care enough. The nerves show that I care. The fear sometimes, the being uncomfortable sometimes is the right direction. And years ago, if you'd have told me that, I'd have gone rubbish. Surely it's all got to be comfortable and easy. That's what life's all about. Now I've realised that it isn't necessarily, and the biggest rewards come from a bit of discomfort, don't they? So that is again the classic way of growing, isn't it? A snake sheds its skin and that kind of thing, and it comes into something else. We need to get rid of the old, and step into the new repeatedly. There's something else, isn't there? And I think you're absolutely right in that fact. Sometimes people don't want us to do that, because we're doing something that they're scared of. So we're highlighting their fear, aren't we?
Right.
And we're making them feel uncomfortable. And actually, so they are going to go, oh, don't do it, because they want to stay where they are. And I totally understand that. But it is something that we both have, haven't we? Because we've chatted about this, gone, well, we can't let that hold us back either, can we? We have to sometimes make people feel uncomfortable around us, because we have to do what's right for
We
us, don't we? And we
do.
learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we don't learn, we don't grow when something is easy.
Mm,
Like if, like you going
mm,
back to that, like if it's easy for us, like what truly are we learning? Yeah, it's easy. So yeah, but then what? Like, and
yeah.
when something is, and it's not to say let's make life as complicated as possible, but okay, why not? Like, or I'm not saying that, but it's like we're here to grow, we're here to learn. And if something is complicated, it doesn't mean we give up. It means we figure a way out or through
Yeah.
it, not out of it, but
Yeah.
through it. And going back to what you were saying about that, like we want, yeah, like I can just hear like, and it might be like a generational thing too, where it's like just, go to work and have a stable job, have the same job for years, and, just be, and don't change and have that stability. And
Mm,
versus the contrast of like stepping into something unknown and there's like basically nothing beneath your feet,
yeah.
and you're just stepping out into this uncertainty, so that it brings a sense of instability, but it also brings in a sense of possibility and potential, and allowing us to find our way, which what happens then, we learn, we grow, we expand through those experiences of trusting in that unknown, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
taking one step forward and forward and forward,
Mm,
versus staying stuck in and just being in this like one spot for our
yeah.
entire lives. Like that's,
Yeah.
I truly believe, like if we're doing that, if we're not allowing ourselves that opportunity to expand, like we're repeating the same thing the next lifetime when we come in the exact
Mm,
same
mm,
people and energies and all the things, because we
yeah.
didn't get it. We
Yeah.
didn't take that
Yeah.
opportunity. And so it's like also a reminder for myself to allow myself to be fearful and do it anyways, allow myself to be uncomfortable and say, I
Yeah.
don't know what to say,
Yeah.
and but I'll be
Yeah.
here for you.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like
It,
it's
it,
go
it is exactly that, isn't it? To be okay with not feeling quite right, which
right.
is, it's a stretch for everybody. I can't say that enough really, because it is, isn't it? But it's so worth it, isn't it? Because when you do that, I know myself, if I've gone through something that I was scared of or I didn't want to do, and I've had to push myself a bit,
Hmm.
then I feel really proud of myself when I've actually achieved something, and I go, great, and it has led me on to something else, something that I didn't know was even there sometimes. And I go,
Right.
oh, brilliant. I'm glad that that happened, or I did that, or whatever, So it is
Hmm.
so worth it, isn't it? And it it's really just that whole idea of the people around, and understanding that the people around you, although you might think they're trying to hold you back, and they might not say the nicest things, they're going through their own evolution, aren't they?
Right.
At their own speed, at their own time. And sometimes when we do these things, Trish, and you might find it as well, we're supporting other people. We're leading the way, if you like. We're going, well, I'm going to take this leap. I'm going to do this. And then sometimes people go, oh, she did it. I could do it too. So it's a
Yeah.
good thing in that way as well, isn't it? Do you find that for
This,
some things you've done?
yes, like that was the other point I wanted to make in this
Mm,
conversation, is that like
mm,
when we, instead of, so yeah, when we see somebody doing something for themselves, we might have all these feelings stir up and it might cause us to reflect. But we can flip or reframe that to say, if it's possible for you, it's also possible for me. So when I see
yes.
somebody doing something that I've always dreamed of doing, I'm like, okay, it's possible. Like, I'm
Mm,
not saying, and there was a time when maybe saying, oh, they're doing that, I can't do that.
yes,
But we
exactly.
can be doing the same things because we're like, you and I both do similar work in helping people. We have different modalities, different methods,
Mm,
but we
mm,
bring our own energy to it. We bring our own insight, our own life experience. So it's
yeah,
different. So it's not like we can't be doing the same thing out in the
yeah,
world. And I think that's why we work so well together, because we both get it and we see that like that's possible. And I had another point that I wanted to bring up like an example of like a bigger picture example of what we're talking about that came up as you were saying this last little passage that you spoke. A perfect example of this change and what happens when like we're so conditioned in our daily lives and our 9 to 5s and our life and just participating in these systems, and then like COVID hits, like the pandemic hits, and we're all
Oh,
forced to stay inside and isolate
yeah,
and be, what social distancing or whatever, not seeing people and being in our little bubbles and all of this. And we saw what we saw happen was a lot of depression, a lot of
mm,
mental health issues because we're so into like just doing and doing and doing. We haven't allowed ourselves to be. And when we stop, like I saw that as an opportunity um, to go inward and to do some things. We face some things inside of ourselves that we
yeah,
hadn't faced for many
yeah,
years, and
yeah,
myself included. I had been doing that leading up to the pandemic. I kind of had my preparation before that, so I wasn't so like shell shocked when all of a sudden we're shut down. And
mm,
but
mm,
I feel like there's this like sense of like this abrupt change in the way that we live our lives, and a lot of people struggled with that, like
yeah,
that time to just be with themselves, because we
yeah,
we we've gotten away from that. We've been pulled away from just being with ourselves and being comfortable being with just ourselves, no other
yeah,
distractions. and
yeah,
and so, but and through that, so yeah, it brought up a lot of mental illness and depression and isolation and all that. But what we also saw was people tapping into their creative gifts and
yes, yes,
shifting. And I'm getting chills, like just new small businesses starting and people going back to baking and cooking and doing things like the
yeah,
old way. And I feel like it started
yeah,
this movement of coming back to why we were here in the first place. And I can see us again now that the pandemic's over, going right back into that. And it's like, so it's like, that's why I feel it's so important for us to be talking about these
yeah,
things and
yeah,
to
mm,
constantly be in this exploration mode, if you will, because it's not about not being happy or grateful for what we have, but we are meant for so much more.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's limitless. And
mm,
so it's like, enjoy that while you're here. Enjoy and the good and the bad, because like darkness and light can't exist without each other. So there's going to be those dark
yeah,
times, and then
yeah,
we're going to come
mm,
through and see, be in the light again. And or we
mm,
can shine our light where there's darkness, like in the world. Like that's why we're here, is to emanate that and to
mm,
radiate that out into the collective.
yeah.
And yet another reason why we're having these conversations.
Yes, yeah, and I always say it, don't I? It's almost like we hopefully we can give people permission to try something a bit different or be
Yes.
active differently, and that's I hope people take that from us. We're talking about it. Maybe it will start a discussion with people. We always welcome comments and questions, don't we? Not even when we're live afterwards, before
Right.
because it's good to have a conversation with someone to go, oh yeah, I did change, oh I didn't feel comfortable with that or whatever, and question it. As part of my calmer self method is gentle questioning. I do it myself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I will think, what was that all about? Like I said earlier about my reaction to friends that are couples breaking up. I've questioned that and gone, what is it? And then I've got more comfortable with it. Go, it's okay to feel like that, and it passes, and it's okay. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to try and keep people together to make myself feel better, which is, I had done that in the past. But it so is, you said about the pandemic and we all had to go inside and we had to think and everything. And it is about times that when we have that change forced upon us, we do resist and we do feel we don't want to do it. But when we do, as you always say so beautifully, lean into it, that's when the better things come, don't they? And we see
Yeah.
them and we go, oh, maybe I'm glad that happened, or there was good to come out of that. But also, I think when you said about stagnating, we're not meant to stand still and everything, that's when I see when people are stuck in that rut, maybe, and like say job and that kind of thing, and they don't move forward or do something different. That's when I see depression hit a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. That is stagnation, isn't it? So yes, with the pandemic, when people were forced to be inward and everything, there was depression, there was fear, there was lots of things going on. But sometimes if you just stay in your comfort zone, it doesn't lead to a very happy life, does
No.
it? We are just repeating, and we can get very down with it, can't we? The energy's gone, hasn't it? Because we're
Yeah.
just staying still.
And
Do you think that's part of it?
I think that's part of it too. And you just said like that doesn't lead to a very happy life. And it's, yes, it's about happiness, but it's also, that's not the only anything that we're chasing, or I don't
Yeah.
want to use the word chasing, but seeking, I guess is the word.
Thinking, yeah, yeah.
It's also meaning and purpose. Like,
Yes,
it's
yes,
like, so
yeah,
if we're staying stuck, we're not finding that meaning and purpose that we were
yes,
meant to find. That is like
yeah,
why we're here.
yeah.
And it looks different for everybody. Like, everyone has their own process.
Mm,
And going back to what you said about that your gentle questioning, and it's so powerful to do that, to allow yourself those, like, that little moments in silence to kind of like say, what was that like trigger, or
yeah.
that emotion
What,
that bubbled
yeah,
up in me, what was that all
yeah,
about?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so to take those opportunities, and not to be like shaming yourself for that, or making
Mm,
yourself feel
no,
bad, like,
no.
we talk about that all the time, but to say, yes, that exists, like, what is beneath that? And so we can let that go. And then what we do is we have that awareness the next time. And it's okay if that comes in again. And then we do that
Yes,
process over again.
yeah,
It's never
yeah.
finished. And that's okay too. But that
It,
is the process of evolving, of transforming,
mm,
of finding meaning and purpose in
yeah,
life. And it's also like, so your methods, like I said, we both kind of do this similar work, but we have our own
different
approach
ways.
to it. And I
Yeah,
know you have done, like, yours is like, you have energy work is behind that too. And that's a lot of what my work is with people around Reiki. And that stagnant, when you say that word, I immediately think of energy staying stuck, and the emotions in
yeah,
our body that are
yeah,
stuck. And so those are the emotions that are triggered when we're seeing somebody do something that maybe we haven't done for ourselves.
yeah,
And then, here we are in this place of like not supporting that person. Instead, we're making it about us. And again,
yes,
I'm
yeah,
not saying, I'm not othering this. I'm including myself in this, because we've all had that experience where we see somebody who's doing something, and we might say, well, I want to do that too, or I want that. But yes, and you can do that
yeah,
too. Yeah, it doesn't, it
yeah,
like we said before, it's a signal of the possibility that it's there for you too. If you see it in somebody else, and
yeah,
it means
yeah,
it's there for you too.
yeah,
So it's like allowing yourself to take that. I know we don't like the word journey, but allowing yourself to have that
yeah,
experience in
yeah,
life,
yes,
that
yeah,
path. I like to use the word
mm,
path if it makes
mm,
sense. And but that's what I'm saying. Like, these modalities that we use are there for us to kind of uncover what's buried in us, that we're operating from in our lives, that we can't necessarily consciously see all the time. It's to bring the unconscious to the conscious level, and then
yes, yeah.
allow ourselves to shift and evolve in that way.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. And when you said about that, we can support people, however we're feeling, to again encourage people to look at why they might be acting the way they do when someone close to them is changing or something's going on that they're uncomfortable with,
Mm-hmm.
and know that we can support them. And as supporting them, like you said about what to say to people, you can do it by actually doing very little or saying very little. Just have that feeling, that love, that energy that you support.
Yeah.
And I feel when I experience the Reiki with you, it's silent, it's deep, it's energetic, but it's total support, isn't it? Allowing me to change, to transform,
Mm-hmm.
to evolve, to release whatever's going on, because we never quite know what's going to
Yeah.
go on, do we? But
Yeah.
it's so beautiful because that is that kind of support. And that's a classic example of you supporting me,
Mm-hmm.
helping me transition, helping me with whatever change is happening, without a word most of the time, isn't it? It's an
Mm-hmm.
energetic exchange, isn't it? Which is so, so beautiful. So again, we don't have to struggle with like, I'm feeling this and it's a problem. When you give me the beautiful Reiki, you're out of it, aren't you? You're out of that way. You're
Mm-hmm.
just letting something beautiful happen. And that is a wonderful thing to receive.
Right.
So
Well.
and anyone that hasn't tried it, then I really do recommend you do, because you get this wonderful healing, you get this wonderful support, this wonderful love, this wonderful ability to be free, without having to say, or for me personally, and even for you, because you're channeling it, aren't you? We're not really doing that much. So again, I would say to anyone, encourage anyone, if you're feeling uncomfortable around change for yourself or for someone that's close to you, just step back and maybe question it if you want to. But even if you're not comfortable or you're not sure about that, just let it be, because it will be okay. It will be okay. Change is a good thing. And to support people around you without having to do very much at all, if anything, just that support and go, it will be okay, because it's, again, pushing that fear, if you like, out of the way a little bit, so you can actually be the loving, kind, supportive person.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm explaining that
Yeah,
properly.
you are. And it's reminding me that, like, we have everything inside of us that we need to do this work,
Yeah,
but that we sometimes need that support. Like you just said, like me supporting you with my Reiki, but like you going back to the gentle questioning. I mean, it is so subtle and so simple and so powerful to have like that support of asking the questions, because we don't we don't always know, or we can't always identify what it is we're feeling,
yeah,
firstly. And so having somebody help you ask the questions, like I remember being like, I don't even know what questions to ask myself, like how
that's
do I
right.
even start? So
Yeah,
that's where you lean into somebody like the work that we're doing. And even if you don't know anything about it, even if it sounds like, well, how can that possibly help me? It can't. But like, switch your mindset. I invite you to switch that and just say, I haven't tried this before. Let me explore it. Like the Sagittarius ultimate seeker, ultimate
yes, there you
explorer.
go.
Like allow yourself to be that,
Yes, yeah,
and to lean into the things that maybe you haven't given a chance before, and see how powerful that is, because then we learn to take on that awareness and that tool, if you will, like in our own life, like in our day to day. And that's the whole point of doing work around a specific area of pain or grief or wounds, is to then take that, what we learn from there, and apply it. So it's so powerful. It's like, this is why we're here, and we need
yeah,
these
yeah,
tools to help us along that path. And to that point, I feel like might be a good time to introduce like that, like all of these things that we may not know about, or may have been placed on the fringe as like woo woo, or like mystical, or too esoteric for me, or that, like that's like a bunch of BS. Like that's been the narrative, because those are the things that empower us. Like, and there, it can be anything, like Reiki, like this gentle questioning, like you have like energy work in general, um, anything where we're sitting in a quiet space,
yeah,
because our society wants us to be distracted instead, to not be
yes,
empowered. So
yes,
anything that's going to take us into our power has kind of been placed upon the fringe of society. And I feel like it's so important to keep talking about those and bringing that truth out into the light, because those are the things that are going to help us. Whichever resonates with us, like that's what
yeah,
we should lean into. And if it doesn't, then we just let that go and let that be for somebody else. But
yeah,
it's all
yeah,
there for us to tap into if we allow ourselves to.
yeah. I think that's so true. And to maybe step into something that we can't see how it's going to help us. We don't know, because we haven't seen that far
Exactly.
ahead. And that's something that I would encourage, again, everyone to do, because so many people, Reiki as a typical example, people go, I don't know what that is, don't know, they're a little bit scared of it,
Yeah.
like you say, but try it, you never know. It's embracing that, isn't it? And again, trusting someone to hold that space for you. But I'm reminded while you were saying that about a story a friend of mine said, who was life after cancer kind of thing.
Yep.
And she was invited to a group, and it was to do crochet. You're familiar with that?
Yeah.
It's like type of knitting bits
Yep.
and needle crochet. And she said, I don't want to do that. What do I want to do that for? But the opportunity came up, and she went along, because sometimes you do these things, don't you? And I think it was a couple of sessions in, and then she said, and then I got it. She said, I still can't. She did 6 sessions. She still can't crochet. It doesn't matter. She got something from the group that she was with, from the people. She got something. So sometimes it is, that's a change, if you like. That's something different she was trying, but she couldn't see what benefit there was going to be, but she stepped into it anyway. And then
Yeah.
she could see. And I just go, those are the reminders, aren't they, to go, yeah, sometimes to ask for help, or we don't need to know what we're asking for. We don't need to know. Sometimes, I know I do it. I want to know the answer before I ask someone. And I
Yeah.
want to know what they're going to say. I try and second guess it and everything. And that's such a ridiculous waste of my time and energy. But it's that fear and that holding me back because I don't know and I want to know what it is.
Yeah.
But to embrace that as well. But I just love this idea of someone going along to something and I don't even know what I'm doing here. But actually then going, now I know this is what I was meant to be doing. It's done me so much good, you know.
Yeah.
It's stepping into that, isn't it? And I know you want to do, don't you? You know, you're changing, evolving, aren't we, with your business and how you want to put things out there for people. You have so many talents and so many things to offer. And I know you want to do some kind of, you're very artistic, aren't you? And do some kind of maybe workshops. I don't know, it's evolving, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
where people can, you know, I know, I always say all the time, I'm not artistic, I don't draw, I don't do anything like that. But if I did, say for instance, if you put on a workshop and you said, right, we're going to do some painting or something, you know, I would be scared. I would be, oh, I don't know how to do this. But I know if I just went for it, there would be something beautiful coming out of that. There would be something magical. And I would
Exactly.
go through a wonderful process. So that kind of thing, you know, I hope that you do get something together and you offer that to people because it will be so
I'm
wonderful to
working
do.
on it.
Yes, I know, don't put you under any pressure, but you know, just the wonder of that, because this is where we do, you know, you said earlier about the pandemic when we all went inside and we were all isolated, but the flip side of that is that we have this opportunity to
Exactly.
join groups, get involved with things that we've never tried before and do something a bit different. Like you said earlier, step outside of your comfort zone and everything. We have those opportunities and we might not always see what the benefit is, but if we step into it,
Yeah.
it will come clear. And that's again that leap of faith, isn't it? And that kind of, you know, and again, change, you know, my friend might have had some of her friends go, well, what do you want to do that for and everything, but she did it
She did it
and it did
anyways.
and it did
Yeah.
her so much good, you know.
Yeah.
It's something a bit different, isn't it? And I find it quite, it just makes me smile to think that this is something she did. I don't know, I still can't crochet, but I got so much out of it. It
Right.
wasn't about learning to crochet, it was
It was
about something more
about the
that,
experience.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
And
she
that's
would
exactly
never,
it. Yeah.
yeah, she would never have known. And as I say, if you do some art workshops and I don't end up being a wonderful artist, you know, that's not what it's
And
about, is it? And again,
no. And
yeah,
that's the point of it. It's not
yeah,
necessarily to an end goal. There's no destination. It's
yeah.
about, and it sounds so cliche, but it's
It,
about
it don't,
the
yeah,
journey, not it's about the
yeah,
experience. It's not about where you're headed to. It's
yeah,
about what you're doing along
yeah,
the way, and allow yourself, like, I think that's a perfect note to end this, like what
yes,
you said about like
it is,
stepping
isn't
into
it?
it, into the
Yeah,
unknown, even if you don't know why you're doing it or
yeah,
what is
yeah,
behind it. It allows
yeah,
yourself that experience to grow. It's so beautiful and
yeah,
so
yeah,
powerful, so empowering, and it just leads us to the next thing
mm,
instead of staying
mm,
stuck. So
yes.
thank you
And
so
that
much
is,
for that.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. This is such a wonderful topic, isn't it? And again, we could talk forever, but I think that is the thing to actually, I would like to say to people, yes, embrace things, go for it, go for change yourself, even if you feel uncomfortable, but also just notice if you're feeling a bit uncomfortable when someone close to you changes, and just again, just maybe step back, question whatever you do, just maybe do, you know, support if you can, but doing nothing is support too, isn't it? You know, not holding them back, and
Yeah.
just noticing what's coming up for you, because that in itself will help you change and evolve and grow, won't it? So
Right. And
it can
yeah,
be so simple, can't it? It can be really, really simple, as a lot of wonderful things are.
it is simple. And also just wanted to add one more thing about that. That even if you don't, like, if you're the person who's doing the thing and doesn't, and feels that the lack of support around that, or that falling away, or something you thought was going to be there for you as you're making this change in your life, do it anyways, like regardless of the support that's there for you. That lack of support is not a signal to not be doing
Yeah,
what
very good point.
your heart desires. So
Very, very good
um
point. Yes,
yeah,
yeah,
so
that is
much
a
more to
good
say
point.
on that. And
There
yeah.
is, but I think that is a lovely point. It's given people hopefully something to think about, to feel, maybe to talk about as well. I think
Yeah.
that's a really good point, that we've opened that conversation hopefully for people, and just to be, we're not here to preach to people, are we, or anything, but just to say actually, you know, we felt like this. We're sharing our experiences so people can
Exactly. Yeah.
hopefully get a bit of confidence from that. But I do feel, you know, where can people, we haven't talked about your book too much today, but a lot of your changes are in there, aren't they? You
Yeah.
know, the transitions you went through and how you felt and how you coped and how you came out the other side. So where can people find your wonderful Love Me books?
They can find them on, well, they're on Amazon worldwide. Also, you can go to my website, this is trishcampbell.com, for the books and just my offering. And yeah, some exciting things happening
Yeah.
in the new year, which I'm not ready to
Yes.
announce yet, but
No,
it's in the
that's
works.
so people need to
Yeah,
keep an eye on
on
your
my
social media, don't
social
they?
media, yes. I'm
And your
dropping little
website.
breadcrumbs. We'll just say that.
Yes. Yes.
And where can people find you? I wanted to say earlier, and then we got on to something else, that the work that you're doing to help people with all of your trusted methods that I personally have benefited from so much in my healing experience, now has this extra lens of your own cancer experience, and you're helping others like through that lens, and to be there for them to support whenever they're ready for that, because people are
Yeah.
ready at various levels of
Yeah.
their treatment and all of that. So where can people find you in your
Yeah.
beautiful work?
The simplest place I will point people at is my YouTube channel, and it's Karma Self YouTube. And you're absolutely right. You know, I'm evolving, I'm changing as we speak, and really passionate about helping people with cancer, because that's what my world is now. And my Karma Self method does help. So there's a lot on there. There's some meditations, there's interviews, there's lovely chit chats that we have talking about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why I'm so passionate about it, and how I can help. So that's what I would point people at, my Karma Self YouTube channel.
Oh,
So thank you for
lovely.
that mention.
Thank you so much for continuing to have these conversations. Yeah, I love it. Every time we get together, and like I said, it comes intuitively for us what we're going to talk about. But we're
Yeah.
always open to, if anybody out there has a topic they want
Yes.
us to either expand on or something completely different, we're here for it. So
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it'd be
yeah,
lovely.
thank you so much. And until next time, take care.
Thank you.
Much love.
Bye.